Welcome back to CAN, Caribbean Affiliate News. My name is Siobhan Gobin. This segment of the news is sponsored by Total Caribbean Network. In international news, President Barack Obama is heading into the lion's den of Russia, confronting Syria's key patron as well as foreign leaders skeptical of his call for an international military strike against Bashar Assad's government. Obama today began a two-day visit to St. Petersburg for the Group of 20 Economic Summit, putting him in the same country as Edward Snowden for the first time since the American fugitive fled to Moscow earlier this year. Both Syria and Snowden have been sore points in an already strained U.S.-Russian relationship, fueling the notion that Obama and Russian President Vladimir Putin just can't get along. The White House went out of its way to say Obama, who arrived today after a quick flight from Stockholm, would not meet one-on-one with the Russian leader while in St. Petersburg. Instead, Obama will meet on the summit sidelines with the leaders of France, China, and Japan. Still struggling to persuade dubious lawmakers at home on Syria, Obama in Russia will seek to win over world leaders reluctant to get drawn into yet another U.S.-led sortie in a Mid-East nation. Although Syria wasn't formally on the agenda for the economy-focused summit, U.S. officials were resigned to the fact that the bloody civil war there surely would overwhelm any talks about global economics, just as it did 3 months ago when many of the same leaders convened for a Group of 8 summit in Northern Ireland. In June, it was weapons and ammunition Obama wanted leaders to send to struggling rebels fighting Assad's regime. Obama's far more daunting goal now will be to persuade his counterparts to put their own militaries on the line. In an ironic twist for Obama, the nation hosting the summit is also the nation most forcefully obstructing Obama's path to an international consensus. Russia has provided critical military and financial backing for Assad and has leveraged its veto power in the UN Security Council to keep a resolution condemning Syria from getting off the ground. At the same time, Obama has had little success enticing individual nations to join the effort. Further complicating Obama's efforts to present a united front is the raging debate in Congress over whether to approve a strike, a debate Obama invited when he abruptly decided Saturday to seek congressional approval amid deep concerns from both parties. Some lawmakers view Obama as trying to preserve his own credibility after issuing an ultimatum to Assad last year against using chemical weapons. In Cleveland, Ohio's prison system is reviewing how Cleveland kidnapper Ariel Castro, perhaps the most notorious figure behind bars in the state, managed to hang himself with a bedsheet while in protective custody. Castro was a month into his life sentence for holding 3 women captive in his home for a decade when he committed suicide Tuesday night. Protective custody involves checks every 30 minutes. Ohio Prisons Director Gary Moore ordered 2 reviews Wednesday, less than a day after Castro was found in his cell and medical responders were unable to revive him. One review, normal in such cases, will look at the suicide, while the other is an examination of Castro's circumstances and whether he received the proper medical and mental health care leading up to his suicide. The American Civil Liberties Union of Ohio called for an investigation into Castro's death, as well as the question of whether all inmates are getting the mental health treatment they need. Castro, 53, had been taken off suicide watch while in county jail and was in protective custody in prison, a status reserved for high-profile inmates who could be in danger from other inmates. As part of that status, he was in a cell by himself being checked every 30 minutes at an inmate intake prison south of Columbus, said Jo Ellen Smith, a Rehabilitation and Correction Department spokeswoman. Prison medical staff performed CPR before Castro was taken to a hospital where he was pronounced dead. State police are also investigating. Residents in the West Side Cleveland neighborhood, where 3 women were secretly in prison, reacted with scorn and grim satisfaction Wednesday to Castro's death. And I quote, "He took the coward's way out," said Elsie Cintron, who lived up the street from the former school bus driver. "We're sad to hear that he's dead, but at the same time we're happy he's gone, and now we know he can't ask for an appeal or try for one if he's acting like he's crazy." Even the prosecutor joined in. This man couldn't take for even a month a small portion of what he had dished out for more than a decade, said Cuyahoga County Prosecutor Tim McKinty. Michael Casey, director of the Suburban Law Enforcement Academy outside Chicago, said a notorious figure like Castro would have been more apt to be harmed by other inmates, citing the case of Jeffrey Dahmer, the Milwaukee cannibal who was slain behind bars in 1994. He said that given the way Castro managed to hide his crimes for so long, he probably would have been able to conceal any suicidal tendencies from his jailers. The prison where Castro hanged himself, a so-called reception center for newly arrived inmates, is crowded with nearly twice the 900 prisoners it was meant to hold, according to state figures. Stress is high and assaults are up at the prison, said Tim Schaefer, an official with the Guards Union, who added, just like out in the public, suicide happen, and you just can't prevent every one of them. Egypt's Interior Minister Mohammed Ibrahim has survived an assassination attempt. The minister was traveling in a convoy in Cairo's eastern Nasser City district when an explosion took place, security officials and state television said. Egyptian state TV said an explosive device was tossed from the rooftop of a high-rise apartment building near the residence of Mr. Ibrahim, who is in charge of the country's police force, and the device detonated near the convoy of the minister shortly after it left the residence. Mr. Ibrahim later condemned the attack as a cowardly assassination attempt. He said many guards were wounded in the blast from a bomb that exploded at a distance. Mr. Ibrahim is part of the government that deposed President Morsi. Nasser City is a stronghold of the Muslim Brotherhood, the Islamist group from which ousted President Mohamed Morsi hails. It was also the site of a sit-in protest by his supporters that was stormed by police in mid-August and which led to hundreds of deaths. The former president was toppled in a military coup in July, following days of protest by millions of Egyptians who demanded his departure after a year in office. During the 6-week-long protest in Nasser City, many of Mr. Morsi's supporters threatened to wage a campaign of violence against the military-backed government if he was not reinstated. The pro-Morsi protest ended in violence with hundreds of deaths. While there has been unrest and violence across Egypt since the coup, today's attack marked the first time a senior government official has been targeted. The former president has been held in an undisclosed location since being deposed. Hundreds of Brotherhood leaders and supporters have been detained since the coup, including the group's supreme leader Mohamed Badi and his powerful deputy Khairat el-Shaitar. In Texas, a 17-year-old student has been stabbed to death and 3 others are injured after a fight at a Houston area high school. Harris County Sheriff Adrian Garcia says a confrontation around 7 a.m. yesterday at Spring High School escalated and resulted in multiple stabbings. He says all the people involved in the fight were students in the Spring School District. 3 others described as persons of interest are being questioned by investigators. Garcia says authorities are not searching for any other suspects. Garcia says 2 students have been hospitalized with minor injuries and the 3rd is listed in good condition after being airlifted to a Houston hospital. Authorities did not say what prompted the confrontation. Spring is about 20 miles north of Houston. You're watching Caribbean Affiliate News. We will be right back.
Excuse me, if you see me smiling, that's 'cause I'm chilling on Total Caribbean Network. It's your boy Wyclef Jean, man, and I'm chillin', man. Total Caribbean Network. Man, I love their style. Whoa, 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 whoa.